is a crucial figure within Gothic cinema due to the plethora of meaning their character suggests and the emotions they evoke within the audience. They are essential to depicting important Gothic themes such as entrapment, the uncanny, and the double. When this child is viewed alongside their companion or creation, the imaginary friend, they can become a conduit for fear within their guardian figure and the audience. By inverting the classical image of the child as the innocent, the Gothic creates the ultimate abject experience. In her book, The Gothic Child, Margarita Georgieva comments on some of the fears that the child evokes in films such as The Exorcist and Child's Play, stating that both films are inspired by the spiritual dimensions of the 18th century Gothic novel when it deals with the mystic child whose mind and soul are easily accessible and open to the supernatural, stressing the idea that young people are not only vessels for adult projections, hopes, and fears, but also extremely receptive to the influence of evil. In this video essay, I will analyze specifically the female child and her imaginary friend within Gothic cinema, through representations of the monstrous feminine and repression. The female child is a curious figure within the Gothic. Prepubescent, they cannot be connected directly to the popular depiction of adolescent girls within Gothic and horror films, where beginning at the onset of menstruation, their growing maturity, sexuality, and autonomy is marked as a threat to the patriarch and the understood dynamic of the family. Aviva Briefel notes in her work that films such as Carrie and Ginger Snaps both graphically show their female lead's menstruation as a precursor or even prerequisite to their committing acts of violence. These depictions entrench the idea within cinema that puberty is a time of instability for the adolescent woman. Given the biological necessity and commonality of periods, it raises questions around how young girls are viewed in the lead up to puberty. As such, I posit that the imaginary friend, who is most commonly depicted alongside the young child, works as an externalized vessel for the later othering that the girl will be subjected to. Often believed to be her creation, this figure points to the oncoming maturity and assumed maternal nature of the girl figure. From this, we read the imaginary friend, and as such the mind of the child, is ultimately connected to the idea of monstrous motherhood and the monstrous feminine. Barbara Creed discusses these ideas in her work, pointing to how the woman or girl is constructed as an abject figure because she threatens the symbolic order of the family. This is evident within the imaginary friend trope. Not only do these beings often give knowledge and in turn aid the child in uncovering the repressed past which has been buried by the family or community, but they allow the identity of the child itself to be disturbed. By giving the child powerful knowledge and desires, they gain a new understanding of their reality, placing their parent or guardian in an uncanny reversal of the usual family structure, where the child is largely without autonomy and what they know is filtered through the understanding of the parent. Within the Others, directed by Alejandro Anami-Bar, Anne, played by Alakeen Mann, fits into the monstrous feminine trope with her conflict with her maternal figure and her unrelenting connection to the supernatural through her ghost or imaginary friend, Victor. These ideas terrify her protective mother Grace, played by Nicole Kidman, and her nervous little brother Nicholas, played by James Bentley.
And the intruders? There are no intruders here. But you said that there were. No, I said that there are no intruders here, and I don't want to hear another word on the subject.
Children are constantly locked in a dark room to protect them from the sunlight that would harm them. Yet neither Grace, who can cross any threshold in the house, or Nicholas, who is almost always with Anne, can see these supposed intruders. Due to this, the film stages Anne's belief in a light that makes her appear vindictive and malicious, seemingly to purposely torment her brother with the idea of them.
Get off that bed, both of you. This is our bed. No, it's mine.
Anne, please stop putting on that voice.
You be quiet, cowardly custard.
An unnatural position for the female child that is often portrayed as innocent and sweet. The ghosts in this film are depicted as imaginary friends due to the fact that they are assumed to be Anne's creations. In Freudian theory, they can be considered as the uncanny double of the child. The uncanny is explained as a translation of the unheimlich or unhomely, something that appears familiar and yet is not. In his work, Freud discusses a story about wooden dolls with real human eyes and the way it evokes fear in the adult, and yet simultaneously invokes desire in the child, who believes that their toys are alive without any semblance of terror. He writes, "We remember that in their early games, children do not distinguish at all sharply between living and lifeless objects, and that they are especially fond of treating their dolls like live people. As such, the imaginary friend can be seen as similar to a doll for the Gothic child. A friend to sate their usually lonely existence that gives them comfort and guidance, yet evokes dread in the parent, who may view this presence as an intruding and invasive influence in their home and in their child's mind." The conflict between mother and daughter again recalls Creed's work when viewed through the ideas around the monstrous mother, who occurs when the mother rejects her separation from the child. We can see abjection at work in the horror text, where the child struggles to break away from the mother, representative of the archaic maternal figure in a context in which the father is invariably absent, which is the case in the Others. This conflict is further emphasized when we learn that Grace has actually murdered her children, information that Anne's mind seemed only subconsciously aware of, but perhaps attempted to vocalize by her refusal to be silent about the ghosts, a physical embodiment of repressed memories.
Why are you crying, children? What happened in this room? What did your mother do to you?
In parallel, the imaginary friend in The Spirit of the Beehive takes on a similar role in helping the protagonist uncover the repressed past and separately personifies the trauma that this knowledge will bring. Directed by Victor Ariz, this is an incredibly significant film within Spanish cinema, especially due to it being made during the Franco regime in 1973. Despite strict censorship at the time, this film uses the image of the child to reveal and critique the suppression of discussions around violence and destruction during this era and afterwards. Within academic scholarship, this film is often admired by the way it uses the eyes of the child to reveal what remains unsaid. Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's own monstrous child, is a key figure in this film, becoming the imaginary friend of Anna, played by Anna Torrent. We are first introduced to him at a movie screening where the pinnacle moment of the film, when Frankenstein tosses a little girl into a lake, is significantly absent. Anna's sister tells her that he's a spirit that will only appear if he trusts you. Fascinated, Anna searches for him in an abandoned house and well, eventually coming across a man hiding there who she seems to believe is a version of Frankenstein himself. After he is shot to death, an event that is only shown through silence and blinks of light, Anna seems to realize the nature of her community, where violent things occur without warning. Following this, she no longer appears to recognize or react to her family. At the climax of the film, we see Anna reenacting the Frankenstein lake scene, sitting by the water next to the monster. As neither this film nor James Whale's Frankenstein actually show the moment of drowning, Jessica Balanzacque notes that this forces both Anna and the film to circle around the frightening vision rather than confront it directly. This response can be seen as a symptom of the Franco-era obstructions to the recognition and assimilation of post-war trauma. Simultaneously, this scene also shows Anna staring into the water with her reflection blurring into that of the monsters, signifying a blending of their identities. Balanzacque notes that Anna's source of power lies in this horrified, repetitive seeing. While she recognizes and even invites the intrusion of this unassimilated trauma, the adult characters remain steadfast blind to it. There's a key difference between this film and the others, that the adults are completely unaware of her new friend. As such, this friendship is not complicated by parental fears around the stability of the family unit or the meaning of oncoming adolescence, but instead occurs around the conflict between the child and the overall community. Through the knowledge the imaginary friend imparts, the child will be set at odds with their world, ultimately othered from youth. We will see the development of the child into the ultimate Gothic figure, haunted by spirits, death, decay, and possible madness. As a specific subset of the child within the Gothic, the female child is a powerful image that draws from many horror and Gothic tropes surrounding menstruation, entrapment, and the female Gothic as a whole. In turn, the imaginary friend of the child, their creation and double, acts as a magnifier of these themes by revealing, suggesting, and evoking what remains buried and unsaid.